Fond felicitations, fellow Fanilows, and welcome to Forever Fanilow. Yeah, it's been a week. Let me start by saying I apologize for not having a Manilow Monday, but as you know from my last week, I was flying to Vegas to see Barry Manilow live in concert as they were doing a television taping for a holiday special called A Very Merry Christmas. It will be airing on NBC December 11th at 10 p.m. Eastern and Pacific time. Check your local listings, blah, blah, blah. So I just wanted to tell you about the trip, number one. My friend Ashley and I went, and I'm going to be sharing some video clips during this too. We got to the airport last Wednesday. The taping was that night at 7 p.m. We had to check in by 6 o'clock at the latest. We left Sacramento, California at the airport. We left there at, I think our flight was scheduled for 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 1:50 in the afternoon actually. It was a direct flight. We were supposed to get in at 3:10. So we arrived at the airport where everything was going fine. Our flight was a little bit delayed. No big deal, 45 minutes. We were supposed to land at 3:10. We didn't land until nearly 4 o'clock. It was right about 5 minutes to 4. But just as we were getting ready to land, there was a medical emergency at the front of the plane. An older woman was having some kind of cardiac event. So we had to land. We were waiting for the EMTs to come get her off the plane. And we had to wait for that. So by the time we got out of there, we went to get our car, the car rental place. We got delayed there for a bit. It took us like 30 minutes to get our car. They didn't have the car that I wanted, so we got a really sweet upgrade, by the way. Yeah, that was awesome. And then we got her to our hotel. We stayed at Caesar's Palace, which is huge. If you've never stayed at Caesar's Palace before, we did our self-parking. And just to get to the check-in counter was a good 7-8 minute walk through all the casinos and everything just to get to where we were. We were staying, I think it was Octavius Tower. We got to our room. It was already well after 5 o'clock. We had to check in no later than 6 or else we couldn't get our seats. So we got everything down. We decided we weren't going to try to get back to the parking, and because traffic was a nightmare. That was the other thing. Getting from the airport to the hotel took forever because of traffic. So we decided to take a cab. We thought that would be easier. And it was. All we had to do was sit back and wait. We got into a cab with no problem down at the Caesar's Palace. They took us right into a cab. It just, traffic was, we were at a dead stop, and it just took us we left the hotel at 5:30. We did not get to the Westgate International where Barry's show plays, and that's where the taping was, until 5 minutes till 6. We walked up 5 minutes before the cutoff time to get in, and I was freaking out. We got in. Unfortunately, we're further back than I wanted to be. If we'd gotten there early, we would have been further down into the crowd, but we were in the back, which was fine. The seats were fine. We could see everything. If you've never been to a television taping before, it's a lot of stopping and starting. When I was touring as a musician back in the late 70s and up till the mid 80s, we did a lot of TV stuff. And so you end up, especially live tapings, you end up stopping. Sometimes you redo things completely over. They do coverage recordings where they actually just are, hey, everybody applaud, like Barry just did something really cool, and everybody's standing up and applauding, and they go through with the camera and they just take pictures of the audience. It's the magic of television. It's just what it is. So they did the opening number, which was Happy Holidays, and they came out and they did that, and they stopped, and they're like, oh, well, we have to do that all over. Something happened. So they back up and they do it all over again, which was fine. I love that kind of stuff. I love to see the behind the scenes stuff. So we get there, 5 minutes to spare, like I said, and we get through the back of the line. There were only a few people behind us after we got there. Just a few more people, stragglers came in. And they took us through, and we had to put our cell phones into what's called a yonder bag. They close it, they secure it. It's a phone-free experience. You're not allowed to take any video or pictures. I did not hear of anybody who got caught, but if you did, they took you out. and you could not go back in. You also, for the 2.5 hours of the taping, you're not allowed to leave the theater. Otherwise, you can't go back in once the taping starts. So made sure we went to the bathroom, did all the things. So we're sitting in there. We were about 20 minutes late starting. They had technical issues. And Barry's husband, Gary Keefe, came out, did a quick warm-up of the crowd, told us what to expect. He said he was basically out there to kill time because they were trying to deal with stuff backstage. We started about 20 after 7, 7:25, something like that. And Barry came out, did the Happy Holidays. And, of course, something went wrong. They had to redo that whole thing. And we went through it. We would have to stop for certain things to happen, camera changes. They would have to start back at the very beginning of the choreography. They have to start back. Lighting, something would go wrong. Technical things would go wrong. We had like 3 or 4 songs they had to redo. But Barry would talk. He would sing. They did stuff of his greatest hits, like Even Now, Can't Smile Without You, Copacabana. There was a really cool segment, and I hope that it makes the special, where he sang a duet with himself on the screen from 1975 when he was on Midnight Special. For those of you who don't know, Midnight Special was a music program back in the 70s. And it was of him singing Mandy, which was his greatest hit back in his very first hit back in 1975. So that was really cool, seeing very young Barry with 80-year-old Barry singing in the same key, and Barry playing piano and singing along with himself. It was really cool. It was actually very moving how that worked. I do have to say that for 80 years old, yes, his voice sounds different. His voice is lowered. He's not singing in the same keys he was 30 years ago, or even 20 years ago. He's singing everything in a lower key, and yes, his voice does crack occasionally. And he's lost some of his breath support, so that the notes have a little more tremolo, a little warble. But the man is still a hell of an entertainer. He walked through there. He knew all of his choreography. He knew his lyrics. He walked from side to side. He was keeping up with all the young people that he has as backup singers. They had a great moment with a bunch of kids that came out with Santa Claus, and they had a scene where they were singing White Christmas, which was one of the ones they had to stop because there was a technical problem. It was supposed to snow while they were singing White Christmas, and it didn't snow. It was actually kind of funny because they were still singing I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas, and Barry started to say it would be really, really nice if it would start snowing right now. That was kind of cool. They had to stop and start that entire thing all over. And then the second time they did it, it did snow. They had the machines that blew all the snow out. So, we got out of there about 9:30, I think. And my friend Ashley and I, we left, and we had a blast. We had worked, both of us worked our day jobs that morning. I worked from 6 a.m. till 11. And then we left for I picked her up and we went to the airport. And then we went back to our hotel, back to Caesar's Palace. We had a nice evening meal because we had not eaten since earlier that afternoon. So I grabbed a salad at Caesar's Palace, which was great. And then we went to bed, woke up at 5 a.m., left the hotel at 6 a.m., caught our flight back. We got back here about 10 a.m., 10:15 a.m. And I logged into work at 11 a.m. and worked till 5 p.m. And then went to choir rehearsal that evening. I played for a choir locally. And I got home about 9:30 and I died. I crashed. I was exhausted. Friday, had work, had a doctor's appointment. Saturday, I had 2 music gigs. I had a women's retreat that I went up and sang for, led some music for them. And then left there and I went to play for a funeral at a church not too far from here. And then Sunday, I did my normal music gig. I'm a music director for a local church. And came home. And I was really tired. And I thought, okay, I'm just really tired. I'm exhausted. That night I woke up with a fever of 103. And apparently what happens in Vegas doesn't stay in Vegas because I brought COVID home. I tested positive. Monday morning. And I have been dealing with COVID since then. So that's why we did not have a Manilow Monday. I started antivirals yesterday, and I'm hoping that this will knock it out pretty quickly. I feel okay. I feel better. Still run down. But yeah, it reared its ugly head. I haven't been on a plane in 3 years because I didn't want to travel. Which was funny because right in the middle of the pandemic, my brother passed away on the East Coast from liver cancer in October of 2020. And so I braved it and put on a mask and flew home and flew back and didn't get anything this time. I even wore a mask on the plane. The only place I did not wear a mask was at the theater when we went to see Barry, and I assume that's where I caught it. So, yeah, but I'm home. I actually managed to work today, and hopefully we'll be better in a couple of days from the Paxlovid. It's not as a severe case as I had a year or so ago, so it's just my voice sounds like lurch. So, yeah. But there you go. That's my experience. Again, it will be on NBC on December 11th, 10 p.m. It will also be available the next day streaming on the Peacock Network, and I also heard that it was going to be on Paramount Plus the next day too. So there you go. So yeah, I do have another thing that I will share with you for next week. I found an old album. I had to replace one of my albums, and I found a copy that had never been opened. But I will try to take better care of myself, and I will be back next week. Until then, take care, fellow Fanilows. Stay well, please.